Good evening. It is Thursday, September 22nd, 2016. Dreaming there. The time is 7:11 or 19:11. This is the monthly meeting of the Beech Grove Redevelopment Council. I would ask our members starting on my right to introduce themselves.
Kathy Chappell, Secretary.
Ron Moat, Vice President.
Matt Fellner, member.
And I'm Donald Webb, the president. Janice King was driving. I don't think she'll be able to make it. She had business elsewhere, but we wish her safe travels. We'll start off with the minutes. I'll ask if anybody has any additions or corrections. If not, I'll ask for a motion to approve the minutes.
I read them and I move we approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Minutes are approved. Next, we have a bill, and it is for $50,731.95. That is covering the RDC's portion of, is it Butler Avenue? Butler Avenue. The RDC had agreed to fund up to $50,000 of that expansion project in order to help the school system and the community create a safer exit and outlet for students leaving the high school and the community center over there. The road has been a godsend in that it has relieved a lot of stress and traffic, and the RDC was happy to do that, and we've got the invoice. The RDC did approve doing this, I want to say in May, so May or June, so it was approved. We're just now signing off on the invoice. A couple other minor bills in there, but those would be on the website if you wanted to see those. At this time, I would ask for a motion to pay the bills that we have in front of us.
I make a motion that we pay the $50,731.95.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye as well. You said we had a person who wanted to speak tonight, Kathy?
7:45. Remember, because she can't be here
Okay.
until 7:45.
Do you have anything, Mr. Mayor? Sure. You got 30 minutes worth of filler? Oh, come on now.
No.
Well, in addition to her, she said that the guy that was here at our last meeting was going to be here also, but I don't see him.
All right. Hello, everybody.
Good evening.
We just wrapped up phase 1 of paving, north side of the city, and today we started phase 2, which is South 8th, Spencer Drive, which is behind the Burger King, Elmwood Court, the City Park from the bridge around the Ball Diamond out to Churchman Avenue, the maintenance building lot, and Shaft Street that goes along Beech Grove Station, and Bell Fountain there. And then we're putting new drainage in the intersection of Bell Fountain and Shaft. And if you come up this way, you've seen all the handicap curbs that they've torn out, and whenever they put in new roads that meet sidewalks, the ramps, you have to have 88 ramps, which is a good rule. And so that's going on. That money, that's about a $500,000 project, and we got that funding from the state of Indiana. And then when that's over, we'll build out another project, which will be started when the asphalt plants reopen in the spring. That's about a $600,000 paving project. So we're making progress, but it just takes a little time. We did an assessment, road assessment, and so we're knocking off the real bad roads. And most of these roads that I mentioned, if you drive on them, they're pretty bad. They need to be replaced. Matter of fact, this road's so bad that the asphalt contractor is going to ask us to close the road for at least 2 days because they're going to take it all out, start over. But when you do that, the road will last 10 to 15 years instead of 3. And some of the roads that you folks have done, we did the same thing, and if you go look at them, they're holding up. That's because the base is right.
Right.
So They called us for final inspections on the St. Francis Medical Arts Building, top 2 floors, so I suspect soon they'll be moving in there. I have not heard anything from DLZ on the demolition of the hospital, other than it's still going on. So there's nothing to report on that.
Mayor, the Medical Arts Building is the one that sits on Albany, right? Faces Albany?
Yeah, it has the parking garage under it.
Right. I just was wondering about that property that's across 17th from the hospital.
Don can talk about that.
There is a group that's interested in it. The plan right now is there are a couple of things with that group. One, they'd like to take the first floor of the complex and look at putting in what I call light commercial, like maybe a restaurant, offices, like a lawyer or dentist or something along those lines in there. But the second and third floor, they think there's an opportunity to convert that into apartments, like senior living apartments. They're pretty excited about that. They were talking about how they would redo the outside of the building and update it, because truthfully, the building's a little bit dated, or it looks out of date, and they give it a fresh look. There's more land there than they really want. So there's opportunities to maybe do other things. But what that group's most excited about, and I think will depend on the success of that, is one, the St. Francis being demolished and taken down, so they don't have that. And the other thing that at least 3 of them ask is, you guys are having a greenway, where does the greenway go? Where will the greenway be? They like the community. They think this is an excellent piece of property to do this with. And I would suspect we'll hear more from them in the months ahead.
Cool. I just wondered, I noticed, somehow I had a notion that that had been purchased already, but I noticed the for
They've
sale
tried, the
sign is
people have
still
looked
there.
at it, but I'll tell you, the biggest anvil around the neck of that property has been St. Francis. And that nobody wants to purchase that property with an abandoned hospital across the street. And I suspect when St. Francis comes down and they get rid of that, whatever they do with it, that coming down will instantly drive the home values north and west of St. Francis up, and that people will not have to look at an abandoned eyesore. So, I mean, that there will have a tremendous effect. Even though it's sad that it's going down, it will improve the morale, and it'll improve the neighborhoods around it, and it'll open up a ton of opportunities for Beech Grove.
And the last thing, I think, and Manny's been working on this for us, is the Churchman Sidewalk project. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, sure.
That's all. 10-4, over and out. Thanks, Manny.
I'm Manny Herzig. I'm one of the attorneys for the RDC. I want to talk about 2 things. And first, like the mayor said, the sidewalk project. As you know, there was a purchase agreement that was sent, and the snag that we have run into is that the apartment complex has to get approval for anything, any relinquishment of the property, which is what the condemnation agreement would do, from housing and urban development. And the timing of that approval is about 90 days. And talking to folks in our office and other offices, that's basically how long it takes. It generally doesn't take HUD any less amount of time to get that approval done. And so we've been working on trying to get a solution in place that would allow the project to be let in time and to start in time, because I think it would benefit everybody. And we're just kind of in a holding pattern, waiting on the attorneys for the apartment complex to provide us with some language where we could get access to the property and start work while that waiting time, 90-day HUD waiting time is running. So that way we're not just sitting around not doing anything. And also we wanted to try and protect the city. We don't want, ultimately, if it's not approved by HUD, they can't go forward. We don't want a ton of money poured in and be stuck with that. So we wanted to get some language in there to try to help the city in that regard. Any questions before I move on to point 2?
Are you talking about Parkview Apartments?
No, it's the Glick property on Churchman. I don't recall what the apartments are called. Mayor, do you? Right.
Okay, okay.
Oh,
Parkview's on the north side. He's talking about the south side.
South
Oh,
side,
yeah.
right.
Right, yeah.
Questions? All right, so point two is, and I talked about this with Bob, and I know he shared it with you a couple of times, and Craig talked about it with the mayor, I think, is the city and the RDC should have a uniform kind of application. So when folks want to do projects and they want to seek RDC money and time and input, we really like to see what they want to do and what specifically they need from the city and from the RDC. I think that'd be really helpful as, like Don said, there's going to be a flurry of interest. I think there really is as developments and other businesses start moving in this area. So to avoid issues that we had in the past where folks have represented things that weren't true about what they needed from the RDC or the city, we want something in writing that's uniform, that everybody has to do and fill out, that we can then evaluate, and that the people can then evaluate as they take a closer look at some of these projects. And so we recommended, and there's no rush, but we recommended doing a planning session, maybe a Saturday planning session, where we could all come together and figure out what that looks like and what you want it to look like.
oh, I think that's an excellent idea.
Well, Robert mentioned that to me on the phone when the two of you called that, whatever day I brought that paperwork over. I have called the lady I know that's on the Southport RDC. I have not had a conversation with her, but yeah, he said we need something uniform like that.
Yeah, and it'd be great, we have some examples. We can pull some examples from Greenwood and other places, Speedway, that's done a lot of recent projects. So, and that's, we can get all that prepped. But I think it'd be nice to get that going into next year, maybe.
Yeah, so do we. Think that'd be good.
Okay, good. So we can discuss that a little further down the line. If you guys are on board, we can maybe put a packet together and get a training session in.
What are some of the questions you would,
Sure, yeah, so that's fair. So one thing that we had an issue with in the past is folks, wanting RDC money, wanting city abatements, and then wanting the city of Indianapolis to also do something. City of Indianapolis has an application process and they have their own procedures, but if they want RDC money, we need to figure out what exactly they're wanting from everybody else before we decide whether we're just going to give them money for, and what the specific project is going to be. Because another problem we have, second question is, what's the scope of the project? If you don't have a defined scope and a defined timeline, and are you going to stay here? What's the full plan? Then those are big questions that the folks of this city need to know. If it's somebody that's going to come in here for 2 or 3 years, and then eventually want to leave and sell the property and not really care what happens to it, just get their investment and go, is that something that folks want? We want to find that out at the front end as best we can. So it'd be those type of questions. Scope of the project, development, what other partners you have, and then specifically, what kind of things are you looking for from the city and from the RDC?
Yeah, we had that issue with St. Francis where the city of Indianapolis was going to give an abatement on it, and they hadn't talked to us about it. And fortunately, the group that wanted to buy it went away once they saw some resistance from the city. But to me, we are Marion County, which is part of Unigov, so we're tied into the city of Indianapolis, and there's nothing wrong with a good partnership, but on issues like that, I wish the city of Indianapolis would respect the sovereignty of Beech Grove a little more than they do. And that I think governments are way too quick to throw out abatements and money to companies over the dreamy policies or processes of getting jobs or this or that. I think, especially when me and Robert went to Greenwood, there was a perfect example of millions of dollars gone of taxpayer money to a company that never even made one thing, or they didn't even get concrete poured on their main floor. Over $6 million went down the drain. And that's why I struggle with the idea of government money going to any private enterprise.
And, I mean, that's
I mean,
fair.
and it's me. It's
Yeah, that's-
other people think it's great business. Me personally, I think it's cronyism, and I think it's a bad idea.
But if we have something like the
Right.
application, then everybody can evaluate it based on the information that's there.
Yeah.
And so I think it'll increase transparency. And you know,
That's what
Beech
we
Grove
want.
wants and needs different things than other communities.
Right.
And so that will also help to, as we continue to build, to make sure that we're building in a responsible and the way that will work for the city of Beech Grove, instead of trying to model after something that may not work in other places. Any questions on that? We can follow up, and we'll give you a lot of information on that, but.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
One more thing, board.
Here, not 15 minutes.
October 27th at 1 o'clock, I don't even know what day it is, maybe a Thursday. We're having a open house and a little ceremony for the upgrades at Hornet Park. We utilized a HUD grant, and the HUD grant concluded on September 15th. And we've made some significant improvements to the building, and in hopes of providing more programs for at-risk youth. And there'll be some more come out on that later, but we're looking to service youth from the age of 3 to 17, and to keep them out of the juvenile justice system. So we have a lot of work to do, but October 27th at 1 o'clock, you're welcome to come. It's just a little ceremony and an open house on what we've done out there. So mark your calendars. Forgot to mention that a little while ago.
I am working it now.
I saw that notice, your notice on Facebook, and I put it on my calendar then.
It's
Sounds
in the
like-
minutes from last month.
Sounds like a fun event.
That actually reminds me of one thing, if I may.
Sure.
Related to business, but I think it's good for the community. So I'm part of I chair the pro bono committee of the Indianapolis Bar Association, and we do several things to try to help the community. One of them is on October 11th, 3 Tuesdays from now, there's going to be what's called an Ask a Lawyer program. And we do it all throughout the city, but one of the locations is the Hornet Park Community Center. And it's an opportunity from 2 to 6 for individuals, in the community to go and speak anonymously to private attorneys that are volunteering for this. I think it's a great location. They've been a great partner. We did it last year with them, and the mayor really helped with that, and I thank him for it. And we had about 30 folks from the city come in and get peace of mind, and I think it's a really neat program. So if you guys could help publicize that, that'd be great.
What time is it again?
It's going to be 2 to 6.
Great idea.
Did you say the 11th?
I'll check. Yes, I did, but let me check exactly. Yes, October 11th.
Okay.
And there should be posters and stuff around, and I'll make sure to email you guys the details as well. So if you have folks that you think may be interested or benefit from it, you can send it out.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Do we have any other business?
I think Mac wants to talk. He's with Next Stop Beech Grove.
Okay. Is he part of the other lady too, or
Do you want?
we're still waiting on the other
Yes,
lady?
she wants to still be here.
Okay.
So I just wanted to give you guys an update as far as the donation we were talking about from this group. I'm still waiting for all the legal things to be okayed, and if our letter is going to meet with your approval, which right now I do not know that. But just to tell you the improvements and things that we've gotten done so far, we have turned our paperwork into Okra. Sue Ripley has looked at it, and she says it looks really good, and she doesn't think there's going to be any problem with us being ratified for that. We have gotten a logo set up now. We're getting websites done. And as far as me, Mac said something about this last meeting about going to the businesses. until, like, I wanted to have the checking account, I wanted to have everything done and ready to go because, I've been here long enough in this town that, you know, I just don't want to get the cart before the horse. And that's happened a few times, and I don't want to be one of those. But anyway, just to tell you, that's what I'm doing right now. So I have talked to a few businessmen and property owners. Some of them have already, they've done improvements to their buildings, and you know, and I said, they wanted to know how long, and I said, well, we're at least, you know, 2 years out before we can really, you know, see anything really happen. And I said, this is all still, you know, we're kind of past the infant stages, you know, we're kind of the, you know, going to the teen stages with this now, you know, how far we're coming along. So I just want to give you guys an idea, if you had any questions that you thought out over the month that maybe I can answer. I know Diane's coming, and she's kind of the glue that keeps us all running. And as far as all the paperwork for us, I looked over the grant, some applications that she's done for other people. And being in the fire service, I actually deal with some grant writing myself. So that's really great that we have her, and I'm not going to be, just because she's not here, I can say that, because if she's here, I'm not going to say anything about it. But anyway, having her really is a great deal for us. So anyway, that's all I got. So
All right.
any questions?
Did you ever get a chance to talk to Robert, our under attorney? I know-
Well, yeah, he's on vacation.
Yeah, I know.
And like I say, that's when he gets back, that's when I figured the next meeting that I should have like a solid answer, you know, yes or no, we need to do something different to give you. So, but yeah, it's on my notes to do. But if I remember right, he said this was the week that he was going to be gone. So, because I wrote something in there.
You're in good shape, yeah.
Okay, all right, that's good. Okay. Anything else?
Have you had any other monies given to you for your startups since our last meeting? I know you approached the Board of Works.
Yes, the Board of Works, I think it's being voted on, or it's
No,
all,
we voted on it Monday, we agreed with the program, and made a recommendation to the council to fund it.
okay, so it's still, the city council has, okay. The Promoters Club has given their money, and, we had a $750 donation by the Bart that does the signs. And so, you know, I myself, you know, I told Diane as far as how much time we're putting into this, because I said, we're not getting anything out of it, you know, money-wise, and we're not asking for that. But I did have somebody come up and ask me from Shelbyville, you know, wanted to know about, you know, was I, you know, donating my time, or was I billing for it? And I said, well, I said, as far as I'm concerned, I said, I'm not billing that time. I mean, if, you know, that's not my whole deal about this, you know. So I think we've got, I'm wanting to say we got like $2,200, I believe.
good.
So I mean, for starters, I mean now that we've got our bank account, because that was the big thing, you know, you can give us money, but you know, it's going in my pocket, and so I really don't want to do
We
that,
didn't
obviously.
think that.
So, oh, good, you're here. How much money exactly do we have right now? Because they were asking about I knew the Promoters Club had given us some, and I know you've got all the whys and wherefores and totals and all that.
I'm so sorry if I held you up, but I'm
No,
so
you didn't.
Fine, you're
placid.
fine.
I got here as quickly as I can.
You're fine.
Those, you can pass those on.
No, you're fine. I gave them an update.
No, you're fine.
We were talking about money the people have donated, so.
Okay,
You want
great.
to jump in? And
Yeah, that is, hi, I'm Diana Hendricks, if we have to introduce ourselves. That is our budget that we have put together thus far. We have $2,500 in the bank at this point. We got $1,000 from the promoters, $1,000 from the Chamber of Commerce, and then the mayor also contributed $500. One of our businesses, he's also the chair of our design committee. He did our design pro bono, so that in kind, that $750, that's what he would have charged another person to do what he did for us. So all in kinds that we get, we also put on, and that's a business contribution that we would have had to pay out that $750 for some other design company.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so as people come in and do work, yeah, that's our logo.
Very cool.
So as our companies do work for this Next Stop Beech Grove, we will be asking them for an invoice of what they would charge someone else so that we can show Okra, one of the things that they request is what kind of in-kind services are our businesses on Main Street also doing for us. The idea with the businesses is to hold events, to do fundraising, to do the matching parts of the grants that we'll be getting through Okra. That is something that Okra wants us to do. They're not as interested in the businesses all handing in checks and saying, here, this is my part. The idea is unifying your downtown, getting them to work together to be a group that respects and promotes each other's businesses. The only way to do that is to put them together to do fundraising. So say we've got 5 buildings downtown who need roofs, and we've got the opportunity to pick up one of the grants at Okra. And our match, say, is some of the matches for their grants are 1.1%. That's not much. So we hold a fundraiser, we raise the 1.1%, we write the grant, and our grants have to be specific. So we write the grants for those specific buildings and say, this is what we're going to be doing with the grant money, this is our match money that we have, and then hopefully we are approved for our grant. And so the whole idea with the businesses aren't that they contribute financially, they will contribute financially by working together. And then the startup monies that we wanted was to help us get our 501c3. Right now we're under the umbrella of the Chamber of Commerce, which is a 501c6. We can't operate under a 501c6 through Okra. It has to be a 501c3. So we're working on getting the 501c3 now. So basically, we've done everything to establish ourselves already, and we're getting ready to hit the process for the 501c3. We just turned in our application a week ago Monday. I got an email back that said it looks great, so hopefully that's a good thing. This is a very, I don't know how much you know about it by what Mac has told you, but getting recognized as an Indiana Main Street destination is a great, great privilege. You have your lieutenant governor come out and hand you awards. They bring the media with them. This is a whole big ordeal to get recognized for this. And the startup monies would help us out with, like I said, our 501c3, getting just all the things we need together in the beginning. Our checking account cost money to order the checks, to get things going with it. We have to get a post office box. So there's a lot of things that we need to do as startups to get ourselves established. So our thought process was, because we will be needing the Redevelopment Commission when we start getting into doing the work downtown, you will be needed. That's why it would be good to have you on one of the committees as well. Not necessarily being the chair, because I know you guys are all really busy, but just on the committee as advisors, or we have even started a list of people that we could use as resources. So we've got probably about 12 people on a resource list at this point, and I'll let you see our list for that. I'll start with you, Kathy, to pass this down. This is our organization chart at the time I turned in our application.
That looks
This
great.
is our resource list of people that are already agreed to be resources for us to step in and do work. So basically, we will be needing the RDC. We will be needing use of an EDC to bring in business as well as workforce. And then we, the Main Street, are just here to make sure that we're kind of like that in-between entity to get grants to bring in to upgrade our buildings, basically. Our current mayor's administration and the other one before that has done a lovely job of opening us up to our main corridor and then making our roadways beautiful and the trees and everything else, our streetscapes. But now it's our turn. And so this has been proven to be so effective, this program. And it's, I get too excited over it. Because when you go to Speedway, you go to Greenwood, you go to Franklin, you go to all these other communities that have already done this. And has any of you been to any of those communities and seen what they've done? Aren't they beautiful? And
I've been to Franklin, it's lovely.
it's lovely. And you know what? I'll tell you what is the best. And this is proving that the concept of make the businesses work together to raise money works. John and I, my other half, had gone to Speedway to eat, and this restaurant was going to be closing, and we told them when we went up that one of the other restaurants up the way asked us what we were looking for to eat. They actually sent us to this other restaurant, said, hurry up, they might be closing. They called them and told them we were on our way. They kept the door open for us. They served us. And what we saw happening when we were there was even more amazing. One guy had a donut shop. He actually brought down donuts, went up there, and the one we went in was rolling in the dough, literally, but rolling in the dough too, because their dough was so good. And so anyway, the other guy brought them donuts, and then he left with a bag of their food, so they traded out. And then because they had things left over at the time of closing, so instead of tossing it, they were sharing it. Then the guy at the flea market, when we were up there, their little antique shop, he come down because when we were down there, I heard a phone call. I just happened to overhear the phone call happen, which was amazing. And he said, yes. He goes, I do have one of those. He goes, I'll bring it. He goes, now what do I get? And so he went down there. She sent him back with 2 bags of things. And when we went back to the shop, because John had seen a coat there that he wanted, but he did not get, he goes, I'm going to go back and get it. I said, you need to go back and get it, or you're going to be mad at yourself if you don't. He goes back and gets it, and guess what? We went walking around a little bit more. We saw the guy back there. One bag was full of breakfast stuff, and then the other bag was food. So he traded out one of his pieces in his antique shop for food that she had. So this is how that works. And when you see this happen, it makes you excited. And right now, our downtowns don't do this. We don't see this. I want to see that. I want to see us get back to the way old downtowns used to be. And that's what this whole purpose of this is. The whole project came about. Did you explain that?
I explained some of it.
The whole entire project, this whole entire Indiana Main Streets came about through the National Historic Foundation. What happened is the malls came in, took away from all the downtowns. The downtown started just being devastated, no business. Well, what does that do to your community? So when they presented that to the national government level, they said, you know what, you're right. Our small downtowns have been devastated by the malls, and you're right, the communities around them are failing and having a hardship. So they said, okay, we'll set aside a certain amount of tax dollars, put it in a fund where that you could start working with the downtowns to revitalize them. Well, what they did is they set up a fund, it kept growing. Then they got with each state. And within each state had to set up their own program to draw that funds in. Ours happened to be OCRA, which is the Office of Community and Rural Affairs. And so they brought it in, which is where our Lieutenant Governor actually happens to be there. And so they brought it in here, and then they've grown the program. Well, now they're at a point where that they're revamping the whole program, and from what I can tell, it's even making it better, and they're getting more and more money in. So they're trying to get every main street in Indiana on this program. We certainly are far from the first. In fact, I think we're probably about half. From the way I see it on the map, when you look at the map of all of them, we're probably about the halfway point or even more than the halfway point at this time. And it's an excellent program. And when you look and see that you have the availability to get funds to help revitalize, and that's the thing I should say preserve. They don't want to see buildings torn down and replaced. They want to see preservation of what you've got. You preserve it. And so the one town that just lost,
Oh,
Shelbyville, because they had a really nice fountain, was it?
Well,
Is that what you said?
They had a downtown circle that they've always done a lot of things with, and what they were wanting to do, they were wanting to put like a huge parking garage under it. And that wasn't part of the stellar community, situation for application. But who got it was Rush County, or in the city of Rushville, where Shelbyville has quite a bit of industry. Rushville really doesn't have that much industry,
Right.
so, and I can see why Rushville got it, because they really needed that.
Yeah. So anyway, you have opportunities to get awarded, I should say, get more awards, not just financially, but the stellar communities is a great recognition once you become an Indiana Main Street. So basically, we set up with who we thought we would be needing to have help us with the downtown. And those are the ones that we asked, hey, we could use some startup monies to get this going. As you can see, this is a great, worthy program for our city. And if it brings to our downtown what it's done to the other downtowns, and we could go on and on, like Rushville and Shelby, all of them. If it brings to our downtown what it's been doing to their downtowns, you would never regret helping us with startup or even your part in when we start doing our design works and everything else, and being on board with that. The biggest thing with the Indiana Main Streets is one of their, I don't think it's one of their slogans, but it's one of the things you hear them say often. Unify the community to preserve the downtown to make it vital, economically vital. That is what they say all the time. So what they look for when they are trying to give more awards to a community, they look for, is the community working all together? They want to see we are all working together for the benefit of bringing our community back up. And we've got a beautiful Main Street already. It is gorgeous. Imagine what could happen if we got more money and put some awnings, more awnings out there, make that more attractive, maybe my favorite thing, and curl up and die, be a restaurant with an upstairs dining outside. So that's my goal for that building. But when you start looking at the things that we have here, what can we do? Oh my gosh, who wouldn't want to be there, right? Everyone wants to eat outside, and you get some roll-up doors on some of the fronts of the buildings, like Rustic Root. She put that roll-up door in the back, and people love going to things like that. So it's just, you've got the whole group of people working together and to make your community better. And if you look, since we started this has been in the works since January, but it really picked up about June. But if you look at what's been going on already, there's a lot that's already been happening with it. And our committees, there's 4 committees that the Indiana Main Street you must have. They say this is a must, you've got to have them. Design, the economic vitality, the organization, and then the promotion. Design and promotion speak for themselves. The organization is so that there's a balance and checks in place, because there's going to be a lot of money funding through this Next Stop Beech Grove. The organization is to watch over basically the officers' work. So you're looking over your accounting program, and you're making sure that the monies are where they need to be. Basically, that's a job for the organization. And then you've got your economic vitality, which is bringing in business and workforce and trying to increase the pay that you're getting also in your community. So when you've got 4 committees like that, and it's proven, because I think it's been the last 10 years they've been in Indiana. And if we're a little past the halfway point coming on, that tells you how successful this has been. Yeah.
Are there any businesses that are not very supportive, that just,
We've got,
I'm not-
I think 2, maybe.
I'll just tell you, like I was telling you earlier, I want everything set in place before I start. I was taking a sledgehammer with me and say, hey, you're gonna like this. No. But there's a few that I know that they don't understand what it is.
they just don't understand the
they feel
concept
it's-
yet?
They feel it's
Right.
a threat, and by, it's not a threat. I mean, somebody asked me the other day, because I just had my building painted. The hailstorm destroyed it, and it needed painted for a long time, and they said, "Oh, did you get money for that?" And I said, "Well, no." I said, "Not yet." I said, if we would've had it going, I said, I might put some awnings up sometime.
Right.
But anyway, you can.
I think what I was hearing from some of them, yeah, we've tried some of these type of things before. That's what I hear. Those failed because they were not a proven plan. It was just somebody stepped in, tried to do something, and there was not a proven plan. This has been going on for 10 years, been very successful. I've gone to a couple of the meetings where there's a lot of people at them and talked to many of these communities. In fact, we were able to get in, so we didn't have to recreate the wheel on a lot of things we did. We were able to get things from the other communities. They're more than willing to share, talk to you, tell you what their stories were, how they came about, help you as much as possible. That's the other part of it. You're not just working together as your businesses. If Irvington is successful, we're successful. So your communities are successful reaching out to each other, helping each other. So now all of a sudden, instead of the communities, mine, now they're all helping each other with things as well. And so the idea with this Indiana Main Street, and it is on their website, all of the main streets that have been already shown as designated main streets by Okra. They're all on the website, and every one of them, if you go to them, you can tell a difference in them from those that are not. You can tell a difference in how friendly the main street is, how more willing they are to help you be happy at your visit. It's just is amazing. You know, like you go in a town, and let's just say we end up getting a restaurant, but it's off the side, and they don't see it, but that's their favorite food. They go in a restaurant, well, you know, we really would have preferred this, and then that restaurant says, hey, we got one of those right around the corner. Guess what? That person might continue coming back because of how nice you were and friendly you were, and you got them their favorite food, right? So that's what you want to look at. You want to look at how this is going to bring our community together, and Okra wants to see everybody working together, all the committees, all the commissions, all the boards, all the businesses, and then aside from the Main Street, they're helping the businesses out about, and those businesses are helping them. So next thing you know, it grows out. We have a T-zone, which Kathy, you're familiar with from setting with us, right? You showed it to them? Okay. And so you were there when we developed the T-zone at
Right.
some of our meetings, right? So our T-zone can expand. It doesn't have to stay just to that level. So say we decide that we want to take it all the way down to 17th. We can shoot down the road. Say we want to take it out further down Emerson, we can do that as well. And say we want to start including all the other numbered streets going up instead of just Second.
Right.
So it can grow as we are expanding and growing.
You said they were making some changes to the program. Are they increasing grant money?
They are increasing grant money, they're increasing grants that are available, they're increasing training opportunities that they have as well. And they are adding more awards that they can give, to, like the Stellar Award
Yeah.
was another one that was added. Once you become an Indiana Main Street, that opens you up for the grants, but then you start also qualifying for these other awards, which are big deals as well.
Wow.
And you want to go for them. This is a very proven program. It's a worthy program. We are excited that they asked us to be part of it too.
Yeah.
And like I said, we turned in our application last Monday, and a week from this Monday, and they said it looked great. So hopefully it's 4 to 6 weeks before you hear from them. And then at that point, we will be saying to all the commissions, boards, committees in Beech Grove, the mayor's office, getting the businesses, we want everybody there when we receive that award. We want this to be a community. This is a community. We look at everybody as, if someone's not excited about this yet, they will be. When they start seeing other people, things happening, they will be. They will want to become part of it. But that's the thing, and they did talk about that at the meeting I went to. When communities have struggled and tried new things, but they failed, you're going to have people that lag behind. You're going to have laggards. And those are the ones that you're going to have to say, hey, watch. It's not a time to get mad at somebody. It's not a time to be upset and say, brush my hands of you, or we're not going to give you anything if you come up later because you weren't. No, that's when you say, watch. It's going to be great. And it is. From what I've seen in the communities I've been in, the meetings I've gone to, talking to the people, seeing how excited they were about the whole thing, yes, I think it's going to be a wonderful thing for our community. Yeah. Any other questions? So my question is, what would we have to do to request the 1,000 if the letter
Oh,
we
I'm-
presented was
I
not
I
good.
still have to talk to their attorney, so that's where we're at with that.
Perfect. Talk to the attorney.
Well, I thought he made it clear to us that we,
He was gonna look at that letter that we sent you, for whether or not that was gonna be enough. That was, and I haven't got an answer back from him as to if that was gonna, be sufficient, or we had to draft something else. Did I get
I'm
that
sure
right?
you're gonna have to do more, because we just cannot say, here's $1,000, have a nice day.
So would we have to set up like a list, an itemized list to give you? Is that what you would
would have to come to us
want?
with saying, we want $1,000 for training. and
Itemized
setup.
list,
It would have,
okay.
and it would have to be tied to a TIF zone. In other words, we just,
Right.
Manny can speak to it, because he knows RDC law like Robert.
Okay.
But that's why I told Mike,
Mac,
ah,
that's all right.
that's why I said, work with Manny and Robert. We'll have them help you, because we can do that to where you can draft it. But Indiana law, RDC law, and to Robert's point, when he mentioned it last year, it's gotten a lot tighter because, again, different communities and different mayors used RDCs as slush funds and different things
Exactly.
to set up for their favorite businesses and people. And
Right.
that's why we have $6 million in debt, because we funded bad projects.
Right.
And so why we are I don't think anybody on here is not supportive of the idea.
Okay,
And
great.
we want to help out. We're very transparent in that we televise these, and it has to be, meet the law. And
Okay.
we'll help you do whatever we can to meet that. Because like I said, I support your plan, and I think $1,000 is more than reasonable. And, in the future, we could definitely do things, even though we're pretty heavily committed, we can still do things to help Main Street and other areas of Beech Grove. Because, see, I don't count just Main Street, I also count that Emerson corridor, because that's, as much as
Right.
Main Street's valuable, the Emerson corridor is what people really see.
Correct, and the Emerson corridor from Garstang up to
All the way up to Albany.
Almady is part of our T-zone, yeah, including Amtrak.
Right.
Which we're hoping to get some plans with Amtrak as well. But that will expand once we get
Right.
going. But you have to start off with something.
You're
that's
absolutely right,
affordable-
you have to
that-
crawl before you can walk.
Exactly, exactly. And then the other thing is just asking you for a commitment to either, one, be on the committee or as a resource for us. And that could be anybody. If you're on the committee, you don't have to be the chair or the co-chair, so I know all of your times are all tied up and different. A committee could be any one of you guys show up at the meeting. Or as a resource, when we get ready to do a project or something, just be able to talk to you about what Beech Grove would like to see with that, with the Redevelopment Commission.
Diana, when do you meet?
Huh?
When does your committee meet?
Our committee meets the fourth Tuesday of every month at 10 a.m. right here. Yeah, the fourth Tuesday of every month at 10 a.m.
Please.
I just want to, sounds great, I'm not going to talk about that, just with the committee, if you're going to be officially on the committee, any member of the RDC, I don't want to see how that's structured, because I'm a little worried about conflict of interest rules.
Here, I'll let you,
So,
do you have that, Matt? Thank you, sweetie. This is
And again, people, if you're wondering, that's why we usually have an attorney here to make sure we follow the law to the letter.
Totally understand.
and so are they maybe voting members of the committee?
No, they would not be.
Okay.
The only voting members are from here to the grade. We have 9 voting, and then these would be non-voting, and we would have 2 more non-voting at large that we have not put on in, just because we want to stagger the timing that they're on. So, this would be the community. Is that from you or from Bob? Because that's economic development. Surely they could be in design, as well, so either one of these committees.
This ought to be at the middle.
I would say I have read them, but I would say honestly, I can basically understand it and answer some questions, but if it was gonna delve into, well, we want this project to that, I would defer to the people we pay for it, which would be Manny and Robert. Because again, law, on Facebook, I'm a great lawyer, but when it comes to the real world, I'm not necessarily the lawyer I need to be. And, again, given the history of Beech Grove, like with the Beech Grove Bank that we had giving businesses money down there and what a fiasco that was, again, I want to make sure that anything the RDC does, why we want to support, that there can be nobody that comes back and says, well, you guys did this because of this.
Correct.
And, because, to the point, if there's some type of fraud or something like that, all the work you guys do goes away in an instant. Because the truth is, people only remember the bad on situations like that. They never remember the good. And that's to me, the most important thing is that we stay positive and keep it going forward. And because, well, prime example, what made the news this weekend about Beech Grove?
Exactly.
You know, and that one bad thing, all the good, you can do 99 good things and people only remember the one bad thing. And then all of a sudden your town gets branded that way. So I applaud what you guys are doing because I know how hard it is. And you guys are out there pulling that big cart by yourselves and getting people to help you pull and hop on board. I understand how difficult it is, and that's why you guys should be commended for it.
Thank you.
And feel free to reach out under their direction.
Absolutely.
We're responsive. We'll be glad to talk about how best to do it if it can be done.
And you're one of the attorneys for them?
For the RDC. Yep.
Yes.
And any comments that you could make with us on this, your thoughts on it? I know you feel that it's okay as long as they're in a non-voting position.
Yeah, and I'd want to see, one thing I mentioned, and Mac was a good point to get us on the record.
Yes.
I'd want to see, so the org chart has been explained to me, only lists 5 voting members and the other kind of are advisory
It's
members.
9 voting
Oh, I'm
members.
sorry, 5 plus
These 5 and
chairs of
these
each of the
4
committees.
chairs, and then the co-chairs are not voting members, and then there would be 2 more at large
Right.
on the side.
So what I would like to see is eventually, once you get your bylaws written up,
They're written up.
okay, so I want to see those.
Okay, so we can get a copy to you, maybe Kathy? I
Get
don't know.
Manny's email address.
Yep.
If you guys could email him those.
Ken, if you've got a card, you can leave that
Yeah,
with me, and I'll
absolutely.
email you the bylaws. I'll email you anything that you would like to see.
Yeah,
on
so I
it.
want to see that, and then, and even then, I still want to talk to some of our tax folks about how best to structure that. But my worry is that, and to Donald's point, other communities, the issue would be, you're part of this committee, voting or not, you're privy to certain information, then you're up there voting on certain requests.
Okay.
It can be problematic. I don't think it
Well,
will
and the
be in
money
this
can
case,
be
but it can't.
problematic on what you're
and the
going to
money's
use the
gonna be
money for. You know, we can't, if you say, well, we want the RDC to give us $50,000 because we want to paint all the buildings in Main Street blue, just as an example. We can't just do that. We can't say, well, here's $50,000 to have at it. It has to be, I mean, there's so many, because again, the legislature is constantly redefining this law to cut out the bad things that have happened, that we are more restricted. Like we couldn't set up, I believe we couldn't set up an ongoing, we're gonna give you 10,000 every year. We can't do that.
No.
Because
You
the
would
law
need-
has changed.
It's more
because of-
restrictive every year, and there are
Right.
certain organizations that are very specifically defined that you can give some support to, even then it's limited, but it's like Neighborhood Development Corporation. The definitions of those doesn't meet with what you're doing, and further, until you have your 501c3 status, I'm leery about having the RDC donate
We still
money.
fall under the 501c6 in donation we're still under the umbrella of the Chamber of Commerce until our 501c3 comes in.
Right.
So it's all legal. It's just
But even then,
we're under that.
it's merging that, and
Okay.
the RDC wanted to support that with the RDC's very specific function of dealing with areas in need of redevelopment, and how that's defined in the redevelopment plan, and then how that's further defined by certain TIF districts and other things like that. So I commend you guys. It's great. I'd be happy to help.
And that's why I say, we'll definitely, I mean, writing a check for 1,000 is no problem. It's how it's spent and how I mean,
So doing an itemized, like you would write a grant, giving you an itemized letter stating what it would be used for is what's being asked for. That's what we would have.
you
to do.
couldn't say, like, this way, you couldn't say, we want $1,000 because we're gonna hire 2 secretaries, we're gonna buy printers, computers, and we're gonna set up an office at 706 Main Street. That would not work, because that is not redevelopment.
Okay.
If you were saying we're gonna set up a training grant to train high school kids to do this and that, and we want $1,000 for that, because it's tied to a TIF district, that's something we could do, but like I say, my recommendation is, once you get your ducks in a row, talk to Manny and Robert and say, this is what we need money for. how can the RDC help us? And they will know how to either do it, or they'll say, no, you only can do this or that. Because again, the laws, to Manny's point, and he'll tell you, they are so specific now that if we give you money and we have a citizen, and we have one, that would come up here and say, you guys gave $1,000 to them, you couldn't do this by IC 36 dash whatever, you guys are in violation of the law. All of a sudden, the State Board of Accounts, it mushrooms, and that's why I say we've got to be transparent and we've got to be legal.
I
We want to, we want to help you, but I'm just saying, the law ties what we can do. And again, none of us, we are all volunteers, so we don't know RDC law like Manny and Robert do.
I understand completely, and I really appreciate you explaining that, how the process in which we would have to follow.
But again, our lawyers, we can let them work with you, and we can try to get there. Because again, I think this is, the mayor, the city council, the board of works, everybody is on board with this. I don't have a problem getting on board with this, but I have to follow the law and make sure, and all of us as commissioners have to make sure that we're following the law to the letter to protect the city and you, the taxpayers, as well.
Okay, thank you, I appreciate.
You're more than welcome. Thank you, Manny.
Are there any other questions? Okay, thanks.
Well, is there any new business or other business we'd like to discuss? The only thing I have is, Ron has mentioned that the fourth Thursday of each month is a little bit difficult. And I asked Janice just a second ago, what do you guys think about doing October 19th, which I think, if I have to check the calendar, I think it's like the third Wednesday. Is that right? October
19th is the third Wednesday.
Why am I? Well, we have August, September, October. Yeah, October 19th, the third Wednesday. Could we do that as a meeting?
I'll be out of
Fine.
state, but
Wait a minute, they might have court up there.
Oh, what, they have courts on Wednesday? Okay. Well, I'll tell you guys what, it's up to you guys. They have every Wednesday?
I don't know.
we have to change in November anyway,
Right.
because the fourth Thursday is
Turkey Day.
Thanksgiving.
Oh, it's football and turkey day.
Ah,
Well, what about the 12th of Wednesday?
We play on that.
12th,
Bummer.
The 12th?
Of October, it's the second Wednesday?
it's fine.
Okay, well, just for anybody who would watch, we're gonna tentatively pencil in the 12th of October. I'll send out an email tomorrow to see if it works for everybody, and if it does, then I'll contact Dan to have him change the website, and we will plan on the next redevelopment commission meeting being on, Wednesday, October 12th at 9 PM, or at 7 PM, or 1900, here at the Beech Grove City Hall Chambers. So if we don't have anything else, I would ask for I want to say thank you to the members for showing up, and I'd ask for a motion to adjourn.
So move.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, meeting is adjourned at 8:10.